Thank you for joining us today for this quick tutorial on using a daily journal to support your special education student while they're not in classes daily. I'm Beth from IEP Equity, and I'm an education specialist helping parents stay organized and feel productive as we work to keep our students learning while the path for schools is currently a little uncertain. Please feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments, and we'll get those answered as quickly as possible. The most valuable thing that anyone supporting a special needs student can do each day is to reflect and take stock. Whether it was a good day, an overwhelming day, or one that you aren't sure about yet, it is vitally important to keep a daily journal where you celebrate successes, document struggles, and take note of uncertainties. Daily journaling is what our best special education teachers do every day. And as a parent who is now the primary day-to-day support for your child, making daily journaling a habit can offer you the clear, consistent history that you need to effectively engage meaningful services. Daily journaling can be as involved as you would like, yet the most effective is when it's simple enough to be consistently performed every day. The things you jot down in your daily journal are not meant for administrators, specialists, or any performance reporters. These notes are meant to help you stay centered and supportive. No matter what tool you use, digital, paper, email, there are a few big do's and don'ts that we'll discuss here, starting with the don'ts. So first and foremost, don't make this too complicated. The best tools that we're going to develop for this type of tracking is going to be simple enough that you're going to go back to using it every day. It's a little tempting to be super detail oriented and try and catch every single tiny little detail. But as time goes on, it becomes increasingly difficult to maintain those types of logs. This is something that uh, I think some of our teachers face is trying to have data that is detailed enough to be useful and pertinent versus having something that's brief and quick and easy in order to, kind of ensure that we maintain it. The beauty of making these logs, though, is the fact that you get to tailor make them to your situation based on your needs and your student and your goals. So don't be afraid to make a little template for each block where you give yourself prompts. This is how I'm going to organize it moving forward. And then you can just sort of recreate a new block with the same template every day to try and be consistent. But at the same time, you get the flexibility of really detailing what goals are most important to you. And ideally, things that also relate to what your students' IEP goals are in school and so on and so forth. But make sure what you're collecting is the information that really addresses your priorities for your student. The second thing I would say is the biggest don't is do not get discouraged. A lot of times when we're keeping records or trying to journal for any reason, whether it's, uh, monitoring our kids' progress or say, your diet plan, it's really easy to get discouraged when you miss a day or two or a week or two. Um, Sometimes life is busy and overwhelming. And if we've missed some entries, it's easy to say, hey, this just isn't going to work because I'm not collecting enough data to really look for patterns. And I disagree. I think that by just picking up where you are, don't feel bad about it. Don't think that you're failing at something just because you aren't keeping up with the daily journal on an actual daily basis. Anything you're writing down is going to be useful. Anything you're tracking is going to help you. And maybe one of the things you look at is why is getting the journal that challenging? Getting it done on a daily basis. So that gives you an opportunity to reassess what is most important to you in the goals that you're setting for your student, and how can you more efficiently direct this to meet that specific need so that it becomes simple and brief and easy for you to maintain. But yeah, don't get down on yourself if you're having a little trouble keeping up with it. We are all struggling right now to keep up with a routine. It's just a crazy time, and you're already busy. This is life happening, and we want this to be a tool and not something that adds stress to your situation. So don't get discouraged. Do the best you can, and see how all of the pieces land when you get to the end. The third don't I would bring up would be don't just track the things that are going wrong. We really want our journals to reflect patterns that we can then use to think what is working well for our student and also what isn't and how can we make adjustments. Every day you're going to have highlights in your day and you're going to have lowlights in your day, and that is true across the board, for every person and in every situation. And having our kids home all the time, as I'm sure some of you are starting to already experience, is a stressful thing for the kids and for families. And so it's really important to not only focus these journals on what's going wrong, but make a point to focus on what went really well today. Um, what activity did you do that your kids really felt engaged with? Talk about what items are still a challenge, and talk about what you want to try that might be a little different. Just find kind of a few data points, but make sure they aren't just about the negative stuff. Make sure you're reflecting the successes, even if they're tiny, even if we had a 1 hour window that just went great today, and this is what we were doing. Because recording those positive things as well allows us to find patterns of what's working. What environment are we set up in when my student is the most cooperative, or when these goal behaviors are happening at a higher rate, so on and so forth. So the big three don'ts: don't make it too complicated. Don't get discouraged. Just do the best you can. These tools are meant to help you, not stress you out. And don't only track the things that are going wrong. Make sure you are tracking a balance of what's hard, but also what's going really well. So next, we'll talk a little bit about our do list. What things do you want to do when you're using our journals? So the other professional hat that I wear is I'm a private tutor and academic coach for students, most of whom have some sort of executive function disorder. So I work with a lot of kids with ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, and traumatic brain injury, things that have really affected the executive function. And so I've been talking with some of my parents and interacting with a lot of other professionals in my social media and such. And I think families have this idea that right now they should be teaching full curriculum to their students at home. They've got to keep them moving forward, so that when school resumes, their kids aren't left behind. So that all goes to say, my first do is focus on all types of learning. You are not necessarily educators or teachers, not to say that you're not capable of, providing academic support for your student at home. But right now, the families that do not have an online option for actual engagement with their schoolwork, those districts, when your kids return to school, whether it's next month or next school year, I know there's a lot of worry that this is going to remain, the school year is going to remain closed down. Whenever you do this, what we'll be doing is when your kids get back in, your teachers are going to feel out where they are academically. And the truth is they're going to be a little bit all over the map because some kids are going to be, more academically inclined during this time than others. And all the kids are under stress, and therefore their learning is going to be a little different than what they would necessarily learn under routine, normal circumstances. And your teachers are going to figure out where the kids are, back up plans to meet them where they are, and everybody will start moving forward together again. All of that said, sorry, I need to turn this off. I apologize. So, all of that said, um, now is a great time to preserve your family relationships. And if things are hard when you're trying to work with your academics and your student, it is not necessarily worth the fight. Um, I actually brought my daughter home in middle school to do some more at home work. She was enrolled in e-learning at that time. So I wasn't what you'd call a traditional homeschool family, but I was her primary academic coach with a program that was online. And it takes a while to adjust to teaching your kids at home because your relationship isn't built that way. And in that case, we had structure and academics all laid out for us. She was able to follow their routine, and my job was there to help facilitate that. And right now, most of us actually don't have that e learning component for our kids. And so, my recommendation is if trying to move forward with your academic pursuits for your student are causing tension, struggles, fights, that's a good time to reassess other priorities. How can you be teaching your children during this time in a way that isn't promoting that tension? So I say, let's look at other types of learning. Now is a fabulous time to teach your kids how to cook or how to bake. It's a great time for looking for project-based things, looking for a book that the entire family can be reading aloud, help them learn life skills. And these are the types of things that honestly our kids need to be learning anyway. Um, but it's masked differently. The kids don't necessarily see it as academic learning, they see it as a fun afternoon of baking cookies. But in that baking process, we're teaching a pattern of how to follow directions. We're teaching some math skills when you're dealing with measurements. You're teaching attention skills when it's okay, we're going to go step by step, and now we're going to make sure that we've done all of our steps, and we're going to monitor the timer and so on and so forth. And these are actually really important skills that every student should know, but it causes a lot less stress in the family if you're looking for other types of life skill based learning instead of expecting your student to do their school type of learning at their home. Um, so that's my first do. It's do focus on all types of learning. If the academic stuff is causing fights, go ahead and prioritize your relationship with your kids over having a specific academic goal. Find other ways to engage with them. And I think that not only are they going to be happier, you're going to be happier, but they're going to learn some really valuable life skills at the same time. So that was a really long discussion about that. I apologize. But if you have any questions, by the way, or need ideas, please remember you can always send us messages in our comment section, and we will reply to you. And it can be about any of these items, including, what are some alternative types of goals you might have for your students learning during this time. So my second do is do record observations as well as information. Facts and data are fantastic. Like if your student and you are setting some academic goals and it has to do with spelling words or how many minutes of reading is your student doing during the day, or things like that. That data is great and it's helpful, and hopefully it helps you recognize what items are working, what items aren't working, what adjustments you can make. But I want you to also remember that you can record your observations, because those are the hidden places that we actually oftentimes are able to find success stories. Um, if your student is acting out on a regular basis, but only when you're doing very certain things, that is information that might not be reflected in the factual data, but it definitely becomes an obvious pattern when you're writing down some observation about, well, we did activity A, and my student was absolutely unable to focus, and it, created tension. Well, as your week goes on, if you are recording something similar every time you all do activity A, that's an excellent indicator that activity A needs to change. Not necessarily go away, but perhaps be adjusted to better meet your student where they are and find a way to engage that kind of learning in a different way. Um, so those observations become really valuable, especially when you're looking for what approaches are working and which approaches are not. And our last do look for patterns. Um, these daily journals can be a really powerful tool when we're trying to find a pattern in our students' behavior, find a pattern in progress of learning, but a lot of times those patterns, if we go in with a specific expectation, but then after, say, we've collected some data and observations over a period of time, by going back through those entries and finding the themes that may or may not have been what we were even looking for as a beginning point of view, a lot of times we will find little inklings of something that was really effective, even though it wasn't even on our radar when we started this process. So I know for me, journaling has been a very, very helpful tool for me when it comes to finding um, successful strategies for the learning, how we set things up, the environment that I'm going to use with my students, patterns of how they're engaging with material and activities, and it has allowed me to be a lot more calculated in planning things specific to my students' needs. And that comes from two things: being willing to try all sorts of options, being creative, engaging with your student in various ways. But it also comes from then recording those observations as you're going through these processes and looking for the themes that stay consistent. And sometimes those themes are things that are not going well, but sometimes those themes, which are most surprising, are the things that are going really well. And you're able to say, oh my goodness, how can I engage this strategy into more types of learning for my kids? Daily journaling can be done in any notebook, in a Word document on your computer, in emails that you send to yourself each day, or in something like Google Doc. At IEP Equity, our platform for daily journals is powered by Troct, and we'll make it available for you to use at no cost. The reason we recommend our clients use our platform powered by Troct is because the parent fully controls their privacy. If you want to someday share information in your daily journal with someone else, like an outside specialist or a special needs support professional, you can control who sees what and when. Unlike systems that allow you to instantly override each other or make it easy for one accidental click to release private information, our platform requires a second confirmation before any important action removing those errors that can lead to privacy or confidentiality breaches. When parents or educators use our platform for tracking services, logging in will show all accessible documents. Clicking on the title, like this example daily journal, will take you to the document. Under Settings, you can see who is in the doc with you. If you use an example we provide at no cost, you'll see IEP Equity is one team, and you'll be your own team. You have the ability to invite at no cost anyone else you want into your team to collaborate, like a partner or specialist, with you defining their permission levels as read-only, draft, or give them access to share. Nothing you write in the doc will be accessible to us unless you explicitly choose to share it with us. Each document has a few key features. Documents are broken into blocks that can hold anything you want. For a daily journal, each block will hold your thoughts for a single day. The blue discussion tab allows you to discuss issues with others. For example, if you are collaborating on your daily journal with a teacher or service provider, the discussion sections allow you to bounce ideas off of each other. The gray Announcements tab allows you to keep or send process notes. The gray Attachments tab allows you to upload and store any important files, like anything from a worksheet to a video of a behavior you want to remember. The green Progress tab keeps a running list of all actions that are taken by others who have access to the document. Click the description to jump to that item or click to dismiss. Once you know how the day went, you can edit blocks that already exist or create new blocks for the next day. To edit a block that exists, open the collaboration slider for that block. Click on the latest draft you want to edit. Click on the Edit button. Write what you want to write and save the new draft. This will add a new draft to your block history that your team will instantly see. If you want to share this block with us or any other team, make sure you've selected the draft you want to share, click the Share button, and confirm that you want the draft shared to everyone or just a specific team. To make a new block, you would click on Add Block. This will open up an editor where you can type your description of the day. And clicking Save will create a new draft in a new block. Once a block is created, it can be edited or shared as before. You can add a block anywhere in the document, although we typically add new blocks at the top so that the document will always show the newest information down to the oldest. And so I'll just kind of go through those again really quick. Our don'ts are we don't want to make it too complicated. Keep it simple. We don't want to get discouraged if we're not keeping up with things perfectly all the time. Use the tools as just that, a tool, not as a reason to stress or put judgment on ourselves of whether or not we are succeeding at this. And third, don't only track the wrong things. Go with the things that are going well, as that's really important. In our top 3 do's, we have focusing on all types of learning. Learning isn't just academics. Learning is taking your opportunity to teach life skills, this opportunity to broaden stories and reading and listening skills and family engagement. And also be sure you're recording observations as well as more data-driven information. And always be looking for positive patterns and themes or the negative ones that can help you build more positive strategies. So if anyone has any comments or questions, I encourage you to leave those down in the comment page. We will be engaging with all of those and we would definitely respond to you. And most of those items we're going to be able to respond in a public forum. But if you have something more private that you want to discuss that's super specific, feel more than welcome to private message us. And we will get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you guys so much for being here today. And I hope this was helpful. Take care.